Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. The temptation of Jesus. Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones become bread." But he answered and said, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that is proceeding out of the mouth of God." That was Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. It was just the first thing I opened up to in the New Testament, and I wanted to read it to you guys because along with a political show, this is also a holy show. We try to spread the gospel and the Bible. So, welcome back to Tomorrow's America. My name is Richard Donahue, and I'm here with my co-host, William Donahue. And we are back. We're back together. It is great. And this is our first in-person episode where we are together. So, Will, how have you been?
Oh, I've been doing good.
Yeah.
I missed you guys.
Oh, it's been great. He went to Arizona. I went to Florida, two of the beautiful states in the United States of America. But
I was actually in Maricopa County, which is kind of ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to go ahead, Rich. Can you do that news blitz?
Yeah. So here is the news blitz of the day. So first off, Mark Zuckerberg is on trial for social media addiction. That is one of the more interesting topics of the news blitz. Then can come out and we will get more information on that, possibly with the Epstein files that Epstein has in his 6 lockers across the United States. There is a new bill that is getting passed that gives immunity to glyphosate producers. That is a terrible, terrible thing that's going on. But, our administration could be compromised. You look into Tyler Oliveira, he exposes, and this is the same thing as the Somalian group in Minnesota, he exposes Lakewood, New Jersey for having Orthodox Jews who are taking money from the government. They're having 6 to 10 children, and they are not getting any punishment for this. You look, and this is a huge story, over 3.5 million views in 3 days on YouTube, and no one's talking about it. You see Nick Shirley, he goes through, and he's commenting on it, and he's getting hate from all of his Jewish friends. Hillary Clinton claimed Ghislaine Maxwell was a +1 at her daughter's Chelsea Clinton's wedding, and also Minnesota gets some Medicaid pause due to taxpayer money being used. Yes, that was announced by J.D. Vance. It seems to be that he is MAGA's successor in a way. That is what I believe Trump's plan is to have J.D. Vance be the successor of MAGA. But let's get right into Iran after that news blitz. So, Will, what do you think about the strikes on Iran, and what do you think about this whole situation? Because it's getting more and more real.
I think that, like our title says, Iran strikes are imminent. I think that they are imminent. I think that it's a big thing right now. I think that they would have already happened if it, like you said, if it wasn't for the State of the Union and possibly the Mike Huckabee interview. I'm pretty sure he's the ambassador for the U.S. to Israel, and he was talking about the Greater Israel project and how he says that Israel is entitled to the entire Middle East, and that he would support their right to do that. They kind of downplayed it and said, well, those are his personal beliefs, but that's not the things that he would carry out in his government capacity. But it caused enough of an uproar in the Middle Eastern part of the world that they had a big reaction, and were saying that Saudi Arabia said that they weren't going to work with the U.S. And that they would back Iran if that was their actual beliefs, and that caused the Trump administration to have to backpedal from the whole thing. So
yeah, and as you guys have seen, I believe it was episode 19 here, and I will take this and move it here so we can do this. Here we go. Yeah, this is a lot better. Yeah, so as you've seen, I claimed in episode 19, I believe that it was a 2-week window that we would be starting our strikes on Iran. And this 2-week window ends this weekend. So we will see if I was correct or incorrect. But I really do think that this weekend is going to be the weekend that we have strikes for a couple reasons. Firstly, the State of the Union is over and done with. That was a huge, huge thing. Obviously, it only happens one time a year. President Trump really, really needed a positive State of the Union. Obviously, that was very crucial because his approval ratings are very low. 64% of people approved of the State of the Union and thought Trump did a good job, which is a lot better than his approval rating. Then you want to look into this because this is another one. On the weekends, it happens actually as we're speaking an hour ago. The stock market, it closes at 5 o'clock. So he likes to do stuff in the middle of the night over the weekends because, as you've seen with Maduro, weekends equal stock market is closed. And we know that this administration loves the stock market. They don't care about the Epstein files because the Dow is over 50,000. That's a quote. And then another thing, it's a new month. He loves to do stuff in the end of months or beginning of months. And it is tomorrow, the beginning, or 2 days from now, the beginning of March. So this is a perfect example of another event that I believe could happen. I think this weekend is the weekend, and hopefully it's not. We don't want that to happen. Hopefully we don't strike on it. But most likely, in my opinion, I think we're gonna end up striking them, which is gonna suck.
okay, so I wanted to bring this video in. This video is kind of what we're predicating our whole Iran strikes on, and the whole deal is that Iran's 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb. So I want to play this video for people because I think it said 25 years, but I'm pretty sure it's longer than that. Iran has been going around saying that we're 2 weeks away from a bomb, or Israel's been saying Iran's 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb. And just so that you guys realize the context, because we're relying on Israel's intelligence, to say that these are justified strikes that we're about to carry out. And this is what their intelligence has given us for the past 25. If not, I've seen things that said it was like 47 years ago that Israel was saying this. But here we go.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
If not stopped.
Yeah, and that's not just Iran. It's also been claimed that Iraq, or Iraq, depending on how you want to say it, also had weapons of mass destruction. And then we went in and killed 1 million Iraqis. So this has been claimed for over 20 years. It's clearly not true. And possibly, Iran could be building towards a nuclear weapon, but they're not 2 weeks away because they were 2 weeks away during Fordo. And that's why we had to strike them. And clearly, they are building the facilities. They rebuilt Fordo, but I do not believe that they are 2 weeks away from the nuclear weapon.
Right. So obviously, the U.S. has sent basically half of our Air Force over to the Middle East. We have aircraft carriers. One of the aircraft carriers over there, the USS Gerald Ford or whatever.
Yes.
Is having all kinds of stewage issues, and they're saying that they think that it's a mutiny type of situation where they're actually purposely flushing stuff down the toilet because they want to be docked. They've been over there for long, like 3 extensions of what their deployment was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But we've had all these movements of our units of Air Force, Navy, over to Iran. And I think I mentioned it either Saturday or Monday when I did a show. I said that there's a pizza tracking app that you could go on and see if there's an influx of pizza deliveries to the Pentagon. And that's how you know ahead of time that, they're working overtime, they're staying overnight. They need to order pizzas in for the employees so that they have something to eat. So, Pete Hegseth said that he'll order random pizzas to throw off the monitoring app. So they are having behind closed doors meetings with Netanyahu. They're making threats to Iran directly. They're moving all this military equipment over there. They're doing things like ordering random pizzas. There's movement. This isn't like prediction from nothing or whatever. There's movement around this area that points to that these strikes are very close.
Yeah, exactly. We're not just making these empty claims. These are claims based off of evidence and factual evidence that we are seeing. You see, Netanyahu claimed that Iran burning the statue of Baal is actually a declaration of war. That's very interesting. I think that's very interesting that they would claim that, because if you don't know what Baal is, I do suggest you look it up, because this is our interpretation, but it really isn't, because it is a demonic figure. It's a demonic figure that's a half woman, half man, and it has a goat head with horns. And this is a demonic symbol. And they claim that there's been claims that the United States are a part of this because we are just involved with Israel as them. But they claim that this is a declaration of war. I think that's very interesting. Why would they think that burning a demonic statue is a declaration of war? I don't know. I don't have the answers. Clearly, we would be a lot more rich if we had the answers to that. But yeah, these are building up. These claims are building up, and it's gonna happen. It's imminent, as we said in the title. It's going to happen. It's just, if not now, what?
So, sorry, we're having problems here. So I think part of a little bit of what you just said can be proven right here. So the whole entire Old Testament is literally God talking to a prophet, giving them, whatever he wants them to do. They go out, they carry it out. The nation of Israel becomes holy. Then all of a sudden Moses turns his back. He goes up the mountain to get the 10 Commandments. He comes down, and what are they doing? Making golden statues of cows all throughout the Bible. Why do you think Abraham, God said, hey, Abraham, sacrifice your son? And right before he was about to, sacrifice him, God sent an angel and said, no, stop. I wanted to see if you would do it, but human sacrifice is not required in this religion. Then they were sacrificing later on in the Bible, they're sacrificing their children to in the fires for Molech, worshiping Baal. So I don't know. I wonder if that has anything. They say that they're the tribe of Israel, and they're the biblical tribe of Israel, and that's their history, right? So if they're taking this and they're saying that burning a statue of Baal is a declaration of war, just tie that into the whole bigger picture. And maybe right now Israel's going through one of those times where they turn their back on God, and they're, you know, talking about how Baal is very important in their society.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might just be a theory that I'm coming to, but I have a lot of evidence to back it up that they say it is their history.
Yeah.
So
yeah, even Revelations 3:9, you can go and read the quote yourself. But yeah, there's multiple things like this. You look at, even today, they do rituals in New York City. They'll grab a chicken, and as Tyler Oliveira said, he exposed this. If you don't know Sneeko, he exposed this. He showed this. Not exposed, but mainly brought it to light. They'll grab a chicken, wrap it around their heads like this, and then they'll grab it by the legs and smash it against the concrete. And that's what they do. There's videos of them in New York City washing off the blood from the streets. So when people are complaining about the Muslims praying at 5 a.m, you should also be complaining about the other side. This is a spiritual war on earth. We are dealing with it. And, you know, as Catholics, I think one of the strongest things that you can do is say the St. Michael prayer. I'm learning it as we talk now. I've been learning it over the past couple of weeks. But there's demonic stuff happening on this earth that you need to get your life and the people around you situated with Jesus, because the rapture could happen. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen in 200 years. We don't really know, but it could happen anytime.
And that's all metaphysical, like you know, what's the word I'm looking for? That's all theology type stuff. But even just looking at Jeffrey Epstein, his bank accounts were named Baal, B-A-L, 2 A's, B-A-A-L.
Yep.
And you want to talk about eyes wide shut type of stuff. You got the Epsteins, the Clintons, allegedly. They're testifying in front of Congress and trying as hard as they can to separate themselves from it. Mm-hmm. You got them all down there and emails saying, you know, I killed her. Actually, we'll get into all this, but it's you want to talk about forces, spiritual forces on the earth. We literally have, even at the State of the Union, we could. Well, did you finish with Iran?
Yeah, I mainly finished with Iran. Like on the Baal topic, there's so many different people. There's a lot of theories. You know, there's a lot of theories that to become a high-powered person, a rich person, a oligarch, to say, you have to worship the devil, because the devil, the prince, is he's the prince of the world. He runs this world, and it's ran by the devil, which means that if you want to get to a higher power and get more involved and have more money and everything, you need to sell your soul to the devil. There's, you know, just to be specific, the oligarchy that we're talking about, 34 people control 12% of the U.S. GDP. So that alone, if they all left the U.S., there would be a massive recession, in the sense that the GDP would go down like crazy. So they have a lot of power, and people want to say that we don't have an oligarchy. Well, that's just way mine.
And to go off of that, like Rich said earlier, the whole Trump administration, everyone from Pam Bondi to Trump himself, have said, they get asked a question, they're like, what about the Epstein victims? And they're like, the Dow Jones is up 50 points. Yep. And they like, what does that have anything to do with anything? We want accountability for people, you know. So they've already said months and months ago, the release of the Epstein files would hurt the economy.
Yep.
And then, like you just said, 34 people run 12% of the GDP. Well, if they go to jail, is that what Trump's talking about? If these oligarchs go to jail for their crimes against kids, that it would hurt the economy? And is that the context that they're talking about? Because that's the only thing that makes sense. Is that the context that they're talking about when they say, we should move on to something more important? You guys want to talk about this? The stock market's doing great.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, well, take the stock market, shove it
Mhm.
somewhere,
Yeah.
and let's handle this Epstein file situation.
Yeah.
I don't care if the whole house of cards comes down. I don't care if we face a 5 years of hunger or whatever. I don't care about the fallout, because you can't have a society operate with satanic pedophiles making behind closed doors decisions. That's not. Our country would fall apart if they arrested these people. Well, our country is gonna fall apart anyway, and our country already has. If the things in the Epstein files are true, then we have a shadow government, and our representatives are paid off by people who are blackmailing them. Our system's already done for if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly.
So if it's done for, then it's done for. It already is done for.
And we need a revolution, which is it's possible. The American Revolution. You couldn't talk bad about Britain. You were getting taxed to shit. To be frank, I mean, we don't usually swear, but they were getting taxed 3% on tea, and they freaked out over it. How much are we getting taxed? We're getting taxed 30%, 35%, depending on it. Even if you're a part of California, Californians, they're getting taxed over 50% when they make over $1 million. It's ridiculous. People that I want you to look into. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein is someone that you need to look into if you are a person in the United States, in the UK, in Europe, a Western nation. He had control all over. You see that he has passports for Saudi Arabia. He is involved everywhere. The Middle East. I mean, this is a huge, huge topic. This guy was everywhere. Larry Ellison owns almost I'm not going to say all. He owns a ton of media. He owns Paramount. He owns TikTok now. Larry Ellison is all over this. Larry Fink, he is successing Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum. He is also the CEO of BlackRock. They own almost every media conglomerate. They own Disney. They own all of this. He's another person. Larry Summers, he was involved. I think he was the head chair of Harvard. He was involved all over the Epstein files with kids, like the craziest allegations. Larry Silverstein was the owner of the World Trade Center. It was the first time in 25 years he wasn't there. Same with Howard Lutnick. They were. It was the first time he ever took his kid to kindergarten, and his wife was on his back. It was the first time he ever took his kid to kindergarten. That's just super random.
And then, so we know Howard Lutnick's involved with the Epstein files.
Yep.
And we know that the Epstein files. Ghislaine Maxwell to be on a shadow commission for the 9/11. I mean, how tied in really is this, and how deep does it go? We have some more articles from it, but people are starting to be able to put together the big picture on all this.
Yeah.
And it all ties back to to the Five Eyes. We'll just say, to be fair, CIA. Mossad, MI6, and this is a serious problem for us as citizens, because the FBI, the CIA, they all want to cover it up so that they don't look bad.
Yeah.
They don't want to look bad on the world stage. So that is why I think that Trump was advised to cover up the Epstein files, because it implicates our intelligence agency. It implicates his friends. It hurts the economy, and that is no excuse for covering up the Epstein files.
And people in the administration. We know Howard Lutnick is big in the administration. He's out in the back smiling when Trump's talking about him missing work when he worked in the World Trade Center. You look at a guy like Peter Thiel is all over the Epstein files. He mentored most likely the Republican nominee for 2028, J.D. Vance. So if he was connected with Jeffrey Epstein and he mentored J.D. Vance, what do you think that we're going to get out of J.D. Vance? We're going to get an Israeli puppet. Their lobbying group is the strongest lobbying group in the entire country, and that's by far, they take pride in it. They talk about it. They talk and they tell us how strong their government is, or their lobbying group is, and how they don't lose. If they back a candidate, they don't lose. And this is why the governor race in Florida is so prominent, because you have a guy like James Fishback who has been campaigning for 12 weeks. On the contrary, you have an AIPAC guy, Byron Donalds, who's been campaigning for 12 months. But Donald is loved by the old people, because the old people, they don't care about Israel. They don't see a problem. They're all Zionists, which is a huge, huge issue in its own right. And not all old people. There's a ton of old people that are not Zionists, but that's a generalization.
Well, it's all the neocon type Republican Fox News watching boomers that generally that you say, and this was a push by infiltrators into the Catholic Church, that they purposely taught people that the Bible verse, the famous Bible verse, bless Israel and you will be blessed. Well, that is obviously a 1,000-year-old statement that God made about those times. And this new Israel was created by the Rothschilds, self-admittedly said that they created Israel. Is this the Israel of the Bible? Is this exactly, it's been taught for a long time that Israel is the Israel of the Bible. So that's why you got these people who are church-going people, and that's just what they believe. And
when you're so old and you're taught this for your whole life, it's hard to realize something is propaganda or something is a way that you believed opposite in your whole entire life. If you're 50, 60, 70 years old. But a lot of people are waking up.
And when it's predicated on the Holocaust.
And biblically. That's another thing.
Like your uncle fought in World War II, and you think that he, helped out the survivors of the Holocaust, and then you're learning about it in church. It becomes a life experience, something ingrained in you that your priest said your whole life. Bless Israel and you will be blessed.
Yeah.
Well, we blessed Israel quite a bit. And how have we been blessed? We lost American soldiers. We lost tons of weapons, tons of money, our entire control of our government. We lost one of our greatest presidents ever, JFK, who conveniently was trying to look into AIPAC and trying to get them to register as a foreign lobbying agency, and also wanted to create a currency backed by the Treasury, not by a Federal Reserve. And he conveniently died around that same time that was happening. So how have we been blessed? I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want answers from, if you think that we're wrong, leave a comment and tell me, how have we been blessed?
Yeah.
We blessed Israel. How have we been blessed?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're talking biblically, Revelation 3:9 is talking about what will happen in the end of the world, the end times. Revelation 3:9, it claims that they will make them of the synagogue of Satan, those who are Jews, who say they are Jews but are not Jews. They're a part of the synagogue of Satan. So if we're talking biblically, you could go hand in hand. You can say, yes, especially in the Old Testament, it says, bless the Israelites, bless Israel. And when they say bless Israel, my interpretation is they're talking about the Israelites, the chosen people. That is before Jesus died for our sins and made the Gentiles the chosen people. It is the people that follow Christ, or the chosen people, the people that will go to heaven. The Israelites did not like that. That's why they separated. We were one religion. In a way, we were one religion, but we separated into two different religions, two different gods, and they believe that their Messiah is going to come back. And in the Talmud, it claims that it will eradicate all Goyim, which is Gentiles, in a dehumanizing term. So, in just putting that all together, most likely in the end times, their so-called Messiah would be our Antichrist that we are waiting on, and Jesus will come back for the second time, and he will ascend us into heaven, and that's called the rapture. So this is all biblical.
It's the same thing with the Quran.
Yeah.
The Quran, well, aside from it being a plan
Sharia law.
Takeover plan of countries. That's what it is. It's not a religion. It's an ideology that teaches a group of people called Muslims to infiltrate a country, claim refugee status. Then once you become 8% or whatever, then you start asking for Sharia law and say anyone that doesn't want to pay Sharia law should have to, or participate should have to pay a tax. Then once you grow in prominence more, then you have to submit to Sharia law. So aside from it being a takeover plan, the Messiah in the Quran is literally almost parallel, like word for word, the description of what our Antichrist would be.
Exactly. And when you look at a lot of Muslims, there's a ton of Muslims who are great people. Most likely they are lukewarm Muslims. That is the people that believe that their religion is truth. They try to live the proper way. I think that the premise of Ramadan is good. It's kind of this a similar thing of Lent. They do it for 30 days. We do it for 40. It just so happened that this year they fell on the same day, which was actually pretty cool for a multi-religional base, I guess. Kind of united us a little bit in a sense. But, I think it's really crucial that you give up something for Lent. I think that lukewarm Muslims are, and a lot of Muslims that I know personally, in the Buffalo area, great people. But there is a huge portion of Muslim immigrants, and you even hear it from the UAE claiming that Great Britain is a Muslim hotspot for Muslim Brotherhood, radicalized Muslim Brotherhood. It's a hotspot. It's dangerous for citizens because they're going to have the wrong ideology. So what type of Muslims is the UAE? Are they the lukewarm Muslims who are the great people that I've come across in my life? Or are they the radicalized Muslims who want to come take over and instill Sharia law and cut people's heads off in the streets? This is stuff that is happening. This is stuff that it has happened. You can find it online. I mean, I don't suggest you do, but it is on there. It's disgusting. When we get into theology, obviously you have to separate that from geopolitics, but it goes hand in hand. It really does.
Yeah. So that is all to say that this Iran strike is a bigger problem. Obviously, it's an ancient problem. It's been going on for a long time, where Israel and Persia have this conflict. Now it's on our shores, and Christianity is involved. But Christianity was always involved because Palestinians are the original Christians. The whole thing is a culmination of differences in opinions that have become such dividing lines, especially in that region of the world, but now more so in America as well. We imported that huge cultural religious war to our country willingly. Not willingly, because none of us willed it into existence. The politicians that we have ruling over us, they say, oh, well, we're going to get you more money and get more jobs. And then what do? Import Muslims and frickin' do everything else but what they said they were going to do.
Yeah.
So it's not our problem, but we did let it happen. We are just as guilty as the government because we let it happen. And now it's our problem. Now it's our problem.
Exactly. And ironically, when you want to look at a topic and you don't want to look at it from a biased point of view, we've been taught critical thinking skills too. Follow the money. You look at Biden compared to Trump. They're funded by the exact same people. They are funded by the same people. It's the same people that want us fighting over the terminology that I call goy slop. I believe immigration is something that they want us to fight about. It's the same people that were importing 40 million migrants in 4 years over our border during a so-called what is it called? A deathly illness worse than anything we've seen since the bubonic plague and a pandemic. They're importing mass migrants, 40 million migrants into our country. And the same people who funded that guy fund the guy that says we are not taking any migrants at all. We are closing the border. They are playing with our minds. They don't want us to focus on who is actually behind the puppet government that we have in the United States. we have a puppet government, and it's our oligarchs that are in charge. The oligarchy that we have in the United States is one of the strongest oligarchies in the entire world, and I strongly believe that. That is, it is terrible what we have to deal with. Our politicians that we are voting in are basically funded by the same people. And when you take millions of dollars, Trump has taken $200 million from the AIPAC lobby. You think that they're just gonna lobby for him and then not want anything in return? Well, I mean, you see, what's her name, Mary Andelson. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yeah. She claims that we had to bomb Iran. We had to. And, you know, Trump probably listened to her because he took so much money from her and the lobbying groups, just follow the money. I actually do think everyone should get into the economics of politics because everything is related to money.
Yeah. Two wings to the same bird, people like to say, or two wings of the same bird. And that's kind of like a cliche thing that people say, but it's true. You know, you got Obama randomly coming out and talking about aliens, you know, at this crucial time. It's a big distraction. There's clues that both sides are working together. And realistically, I mean, they stand up, they have their theater and all that stuff, but they're going out to lunch together. They're all buddy, you know, and then it's only on the floor of Congress when they want to, you know, appease their voters. They ask tough questions, but no, nothing gets done. Not when Biden's the president and the Democrats run the House, and not when Trump's the president and the Republicans run the House. Nothing gets done either way. It's just a back and forth, you know, mind game that we get to deal with. And you know, when are we gonna be when are we gonna hold these people to the standard that they should be? That's my question. I don't know exactly what that means, different things to different people, but there's common ground that we can all agree on. And it's not this blend of what's going on in Congress. And I think that is a good segue into the State of the Union because we saw the clear dividing line. So Trump gave a speech. We saw a clear dividing line in the room of the audience. It was Republicans on the left or right, whichever way you're facing, and then Democrats on the other side. Split right down the middle. And for multiple examples in a row, Trump, you know, said, well, here's the family of the little girl that got hit by an illegal alien truck driver. Here's the family of Laken Riley or whatever. Here's the family of, or here's a World War II veteran. So he set the stage. He gave all these, you know, things that people are outraged about or proud of or happy about. And because it was Trump saying it, only the Republicans gave standing ovations and only the Democrats sat down and didn't clap one time, didn't show any emotion. It was a clear divided line right down the middle, and it was the perfect setup because Trump, after all those examples were set in stone, he said, now, I want to give you the opportunity to stand up if you agree with this premise that the U.S. representation, their job is to stand up for Americans before they advocate for illegal aliens. Pretty simple question. I kind of butchered the quote, but pretty simple question, pretty straightforward thing. If you are a representative of the people of the United States, you should prioritize the people of the United States. And not one Democrat stood up. Not one. It was actually the best thing ever. This is why, all right, I don't know if you want to, this is why I think that it was a great State of the Union because of how he laid it out in the obvious dividing lines. He even called Somalians that were stealing from the government, he called them pirates. He literally said, the Somali pirates that are carrying out this fraud. And the camera guy literally panned right to Ilhan Omar as he was saying that. It was like the greatest thing ever. So I think that the State of the Union was awesome in that sense. And then I have some negatives. Do you want to comment on?
Yeah, I think it was a great way for Trump to show how insane the Democratic Party has become. I always say stuff like this, where if it was the 1960s and I was voting on a grand scale, and I was actually a voter, I believe I would be a Democrat. I believe that I would be voting for a candidate like JFK, who is for the unions, the working class, the middle class. The Democratic Party was a legit party. Bill Clinton was shut down on immigration. He was trying to deport as many people as possible. He was in his own State of the Union. He was saying he will double the deportations in this upcoming year. He was on his stuff. It's come to the point where now the Democratic Party is just either anything Trump does, we oppose it. That they've become so crazy that, and I think he's done this because he wants to be the Democratic nominee. Gavin Newsom says that the Democratic Party needs to be more culturally and socially normal, which I completely agree with. They are so insane with their gender politics, their ideologies, these idiotic 595 issues about their transgender stuff and trans rights and LGBTQ. They should focus on more of the American issues than just these gender politics that everyone doesn't care about. Why do you think that Kamala Harris got absolutely destroyed by Trump? Because Trump was claiming that he was going to deport all the illegals and he's going to shut down the border. That was the main reason why he got elected. Their open border policy was absolutely idiotic. One of the worst things in modern history, like from a leader's standpoint. I don't know much things that can tear a nation apart more than that. That is awful. And then honestly, from the State of the Union, what I've gathered is I think they want JD Vance to be the MAGA successor, which I obviously dislike when you look at his mentor, Peter Thiel, all implicated in the files and everything he's doing with Palantir. I dislike this a lot. He appointed JD Vance in charge of the Somali fraud. Okay, well, I'm guessing he did that because he knows that that's something that will rile people up. He's appointing him.
Nothing happened with it either.
Exactly. He's appointing him in charge of that. And they claim 19 billion, not 9 billion, new number, $19 billion of Somali fraud. He appointed him there because when you look at what Kamala Harris did, she did absolutely nothing. She was in charge of going to Russia and delegating a deal with Ukraine. And what happened? You know what happened? They started a war that's still going on to this day that the peacemaker, President Trump, still can't end because according to Zelensky, as we said in the news blitz of the day, this is World War III. That's what his claim was, not mine, his claim. Do I agree? Not necessarily. I think that it could be because it's a proxy of the United States, but it's something that has absolutely torn our nation apart. Another issue of Goyslop that we're dealing with. This State of the Union has shown, I think it's a Vance Rubio ticket in 28. And I don't necessarily think I could vote for that, which is a huge problem because I am, in this political climate, a far right, slightly authoritarian, but ideally libertarian person. But, you know, with the JD Vance thing, exactly, temporarily, just because of where our country has become. Our country is a mess. Just it's
because it's so compartmentalized and the deep state. We don't need authoritarianism over the regular citizens. Exactly. We need authoritarianism over the deep state,
over the government.
Like the president the next president or whoever should go in and do a complete overhaul.
Yes.
Don't even stay at Langley for the CIA. Move the headquarters to a different building.
Yep.
It's probably bugged. It's probably all kinds of stuff. When you're doing the moving process, you got to take all the files and see where everything is. Mm-hmm. We need like a literal overhaul of the whole government. That kind of authoritarian.
Exactly.
Not what martial law.
No, definitely not. And when I claim authoritarianism as a political ideology, it's with a very small a. It is so small. And you look what he's saying. A libertarian who was an authoritarian for the deep state was JFK. He was saying and listening to his people. He was saying he does not care. He is going to make sure Israel does not get a nuclear weapon. He is going to make sure that the American Zionist Council register under FARA, and he was killed for it. In 1963, it was the worst tragedy, in my opinion. I think it was one of the worst tragedies in American history. Not the worst, one of the worst. You look at a tragedy like Pearl Harbor, 9/11, stuff like that. I think the JFK assassination is just above there, or not above it, sorry, just with them, because you look at what we got. We got Lyndon B. Johnson, who was an absolute sellout. Lyndon B. Johnson allowed Israel to bomb the USS Liberty and just completely tore it apart. There's people on the Liberty that are still alive today that claim that Israel knew that it was the United States ship, and they still bombed them. They still bomb them. And a lot of
time.
Yes, and Zionists will claim that they didn't know. And I've seen it. I've seen debates between Zionists and people on the ship. The guy was wounded.
They said that they got hit one time, so they were like, hey, get our big flag. And they put up a big American flag, and all the people were waving their hands saying, like, we're Americans. And the Israeli plane flew right over and struck it again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not conspiracy theory. They just try and downplay it.
Yeah. And also conspiracy theory, do you know that term was created after
In the fallout.
after JFK was assassinated? All of the mass media and all of their claims that it was
CIA,
Israel, they created the term conspiracy theory.
It was declassified that they literally the CIA implemented the word conspiracy theorist to discredit people with alternate theories about the JFK assassination. And then it was later declassified that those alternate theories about the JFK assassination, some of them were true. So the word conspiracy theorist is based on a foundation of trying to lie to you. So when people say the word conspiracy theorist, they're trying to lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to think like, that doesn't make sense. I wonder if this happened.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to government, what? So you're not allowed to question the official narrative?
No.
That is Orwellian dystopic in itself.
Yeah. What happened to the First Amendment, the freedom of speech? We have the right to say whatever we want in this country. There is repercussions, but we have the right to say whatever we want. It is protected in the First Amendment right that we can say it.
You know why you can't say fire in a crowded movie theater? Not because it's illegal to say the word fire in a crowded movie theater, and you can say the word fire in a crowded movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they say that is because if you say fire in a crowded movie theater and somebody gets trampled to death and there wasn't actually a fire, you could be charged with the murder of the person who died. So it's like such a stretch to say you can't say fire in a crowd. You could say whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a fallout from it, you could be charged for something else. You wouldn't even be charged like official charge saying fire in a crowded movie theater. No, you just get charged with murder.
Mm-hmm.
So it has nothing to do with the fact that you said something. It's the fact that there was a fallout because of what you said. You can't incite violence and at a riot and say we need to go in this building right now and go get so and so. There's some limits to free speech, but only when it creates a criminal action that follows afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. There's another thing that I wanted to mention about the State of the Union, just to get slightly back to where we were. This is just a claim that Donald Trump made himself. Obviously, he told us that there is $1.85 gas. Where? I don't know anywhere that has $1.85 gas. He also claimed that multiple states have $1.99 gas.
And you just went to Florida. What was it down there?
Yeah, so we drove all the way down from New York to Florida. And the lowest gas, because I love seeing low gas prices. I freak out. I tell my girlfriend, look, $2.69, $2.72. I freak out when I see stuff like that. The lowest I've seen on the East Coast, guess what it is? Yep. You got your guess. It was $2.55. 255 was the lowest I've seen throughout the entire East Coast. And I passed through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and I didn't see anything below 225 or 255.
Places known for having low gas prices.
Yes.
New York, you can guarantee add $3 to whatever Florida is.
Yeah.
Or $2. But
It's crazy.
Trump said what, 180 cents?
He said multiple states at 199 and a state and a place, I think he said a county at 185. I want to know where that is because it's worth commuting from where I am. I mean, I don't care if I'm in New York. It's worth commuting to go get that 185 and sell it for a cheaper price than what our gas stations are. I think the average price right now in Buffalo is 285 right now, 282. So I need to figure out where the 185 is because that's a whole $1 cheaper than what I'm paying. And as a young person, people are outraged. So you want to wonder why people are freaking out. Another thing, the State of the Union didn't mention Israel once. That is a huge problem because you see a massive outrage between groups of 50 and below. Ideally, I mean, realistically, it's 44 to 18 people on average. Yeah, exactly. Because there's a different spectrum, but people are outraged. People are outraged about this, and you didn't hear anything. You didn't hear anything from Mr. 200 million.
That's where I was ready to go. So I said what I thought was good about the State of the Union, and I wanted you to talk so I could separate it. Now I'm going to say what I thought was bad about the State of the Union. So great State of the Union. Trump talked. He had all the zingers and all that stuff. That was great, and it looked great. And it was great for PR, and he talked about all the wins that we got. But the things that he didn't talk about and didn't mention, it was a great insight into the focus of the Trump administration, what they're focused on. He opened up the whole thing by talking about the economy, so that's his number one concern. Then he talked about other things, all the wins, this and that, and so that's great. What he didn't talk about is what people should be putting pressure on the Trump administration to put more focus on: the Epstein files, the Iran strikes, or not the Iran strikes, but our relationship with Israel. Lots of things that Trump didn't talk about that, you should pay as much attention to what he didn't mention as to what he did mention, because he talked about a lot of things that are in his win column, but he didn't mention any of the things that are in his losses column. And those to me are the most important things that he ran on when becoming president, and he's not talking about them, and he's telling us about something else.
Yeah.
So that to me is massively concerning.
Also, something concerning the me. Stop. This dog is crazy. Another thing that's concerning me is he claimed that there was no Epstein files. He said there is no Epstein files. If you want the Epstein files to be released, then I don't want your support anymore. If you're a supporter of mine and you want the files released, I don't want your support. That is an absolutely ridiculous claim for him to make. And now that they have been released, the small amount that have been released, a little over half that we know about, allegedly the DOJ says 6 million, but we know they love to lie. Pam Bondi lied under oath saying that they released all the files when just 2 weeks prior it was 6 million files and they released 3.5 million. We know that they love to lie. The files are on my desk. That's a quote. Then later on, there was no files. I don't know what I was talking about. Then they released this small thing, all redacted. Then they release a binder, and the binder was all stuff that we already knew. Then they say there is no files, and if you want the files, out, I don't want your support anymore. Then they released 3.5 million files with a bunch of redactions that shouldn't be redacted, and then now they claim that only another 6 million. This number. 3.5 million pages have been released, but that's all of them, not the 6 million. The 6 million that they had just randomly disappeared. So interesting. And that now it comes out that Epstein has his own files in these lockers, 6 lockers across the entire United States. So those are unredacted. Let's get those. Let's call the companies. It's public knowledge. It's in the files. Let's get those files. They're unredacted, and I don't care who's in them. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Clinton, if it's George H.W. Bush. It does not matter to me. Release them and then put these people on blast, depending on if you want to put them in jail for their life or if you want to do an execution, if you want to do whatever you want to do.
What their crimes are.
Yeah,
That should be an option.
It should.
Depending on what they're involved in, that should be an option. And Bill Gates, just last week was saying, "Oh yeah, no, I don't know any Russian hookers. I never was with Epstein. I don't know any of the victims." And then two days ago, he comes out and he's like, "Well, there was 2 Russian hookers that I met through Epstein, but I didn't know any of the other victims." Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. Time will tell, because what they do is they incrementally tell you, no, that never happened. Ilhan Omar just did it the other day. The lady goes, "Why did you say that people of America should be more fearful of white men?" And she said, "I didn't say that." And the lady goes, "Yeah, you did. You're on video." And she says, "Well, you should do your research, because I was quoting an FBI study." So literally within one sentence, it went from "I never said that," and then once, "Yeah, you did. You're on video." "Oh, well, you should do your research." All condescending. Here's the other problem, is that I don't know where all these politicians get off by just thinking they can be condescending to get their way out of having to talk about things. They're like, "You should do your own, or you should do more research. You don't know what you're talking about." It's like, yeah, I do. I literally watched a video of you say that, and now I'm coming to ask you why you said that. And instead of backing up what you have to say, you just tell me that I'm making a fool of myself and I need to do more research. Okay.
And that's exactly why I think these far-right creators like Sneeko, Nick Fuentes, people like this, who back up their claims, are growing in popularity. It's so easy to not lie and to just back up what you say. If you say something, back it up. If in the 1970s someone said something and then they wanted to lie about it, they get a knuckle sandwich right to the mouth. So I don't understand why all these politicians think that it's any different for them. If anything, they should be more transparent. They're the ones who we are electing. We are the people that are putting them in the power that they have. And you know, for her congressional district, there's so many Somalians. They probably they don't even care. They don't even know. The Somalians, they'll just mass vote. They're like the Democratic Party or the Republican. Actually, the Republican Party does that less of that. You see people like Thomas Massey who votes on what he thinks is actually true. There's true patriots like this. But then you see on the same side, there's people in Republican and Democratic Party, especially the Democrats. They love to vote in clumps. They will all vote on one thing. And that's exactly why you look at something like the SAVE Act, it's not going to pass because you need 60 votes out of 100, and there's only, 53 Republicans in the Senate? So it's never going to pass because all 47 Democrats are all going to decline it, and it's what is it called? Filibuster? Yeah, it's a filibuster. You need 60 votes, which is absolutely ridiculous. All Western nations don't have mail-in ballots, and they all have photo ID. And I think it's super racist for them to say that people of color cannot get their documents. How racist is it for you to say that about a group of people? Just because of the color of their skin, they can't get documents, or because of the color of their skin, they have to move more because they're low income. I think that's more racist than anything about the SAVE Act and talking about how you want to say we should have voter ID. That's a lot less racist than saying people of color cannot receive birth certificates and IDs. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. That's terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And you know, the whole thing with the two different sides, they both work together. You'll have some bill that we want, like the SAVE Act, and it'll never get passed. But you notice in the State of the Union, when they talked about the Iran strikes, both sides stood up. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's something clearly the American people don't want. Mm-hmm. That's the only unifying thing for them in Congress. They're like, and we're going to strike Iran, and everyone's like, you gotta hop up on your seat. They all agree on that, and they all get paid by the same group, the same PACs, the same
People.
what is it? NGOs.
Yes. They're paid by the exact same people. Lenin is outraged, as I am. We are freaking over it. The American people are done with these politicians who are taking this PAC money. It shouldn't even be allowed. First of all, George Washington, our greatest U.S. president, the first U.S. president, said there will be 2 term limits, 8 years. He said, do not get involved in foreign affairs. He said, do not have political parties. He definitely did not envision our political system to be allowing these special interest groups and these lobbying groups to control our politicians. It was we the people control the government. They work for us. President Trump works for me. He doesn't work for Israel. He works for me. He works for Will. He works for you. He works for us, we the people. We instill them. We put them into power. So off of the constitutional republic that we vote them in using the electoral collegial system, they should listen to us, if anything. If everyone's outraged about Israel, and it's a well-known fact, no one wants to be involved in the Middle Eastern conflicts, then stop taking this Mossad intelligence. I'm outraged right now. I'm about to walk off. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is pretty outrageous. I want to actually read you guys this, the preamble to the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. So what situation are we in now? We the people don't matter to our government, and because of that, we can't establish justice. Jeffrey Epstein was running around for 10 years 10 years almost after he was convicted, probably still carrying out his business. And if you even look at this document here, it's hard to see, but the DEA was investigating Epstein for drug trafficking, sex trafficking, all kinds of stuff out of a CIA air base. Yeah, I can't zoom in on it, but that's what this document that just came out says. And so we can't establish justice. We don't have domestic tranquility. We can't provide for the common defense. People are saying that if we stretch out to go fight in Iran, considering all the weapons we gave to Ukraine, and then we got to fight with the cartel. We're in rough footing with China over Taiwan. We're in rough footing with the Philippines, who we're protectorate of. We can't provide for the common defense. We don't promote the general welfare, which is self-realized general welfare. There's not enough freedom for people to own businesses and to have general welfare in our medical system, and all kinds of things are messed up. We don't have the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, and the wealth of the country that we've had. Just the beginning of the Constitution, you got to look and say, none of this is being fulfilled, and whose fault is that?
Yep. Yeah, and whose fault is that? And that's for your interpretation. My interpretation and what I view, I do think that it is AIPAC along with other lobbying groups. They're not the only ones. I was on, I took my first plane ride, and I feel like this is my closing statement. I don't know what you have left over, but I was on a plane ride. Obviously, you don't got service up there. So I was just thinking, if I was president, what would I do? Immigration-wise, I would shut down the border, build the wall, start a legal immigration program, ideally first world nations, positive workers, but we would take in refugees if needed. Deport all illegal immigrants who are here illegally, especially the ones over the last 5 years. Those are the priority. Obviously a Muslim man who has 3 arrests is more prioritized over a Venezuelan woman with 3 kids. It's obviously like that, but let's get them all in. If you want to stay here and you don't have any legal issues, due process. And H-1Bs, foreign policy, end all foreign aid to all countries. We don't need to be helping out other countries when our country needs help itself. Ally with Russia. Russia is another very right-wing government. They are a positive. I think they're positive. Yeah, exactly. I think they're a positive impact. I think they're a positive country. I think we push them into a negative light, and obviously we have our own propaganda that we believe on them, as they do for us. And I think we should help Europe mend their relations with Russia, because if we could all be on a united front against this Chinese Communist Party, I believe that it would be a lot better. I think we should have allowed them into NATO. Obviously, if they attack a NATO member and they're in NATO, then we would attack them. It makes no sense. Just like how they were going to attack us over Greenland. And domestic issues, this is the big one. You need to ban PACs and special interest groups. I don't think that'll ever happen, because everyone involved in our Congress is taking money. So we have to start voting in people who don't take PAC and special interest money, so that can happen. Cap the amount that someone can donate to a politician. I think $1 million is more than enough to a politician. Why is someone like Elon Musk putting $200 million into President Trump's campaign? I think that's terrible. I don't think that should happen at all. Another thing that I think is a positive, no income for families, united families, mother and father, with 3 kids. That boosts the birth rate. That also means that they wouldn't have to pay income tax, which helps the families, along with then we don't need immigrants, because then we're not importing illegals. And then with the money that we stop sending Israel and other countries in these foreign aid grants, we can help young families under 30 years old with down payment grants. I think that's another positive that we could do. And birth grants for babies with baby necessities, like say formula or binkies, stuff like that. These are just simple things that I don't see how you can be against. Immigration, I understand that's a bunch of goy slop. People have their own interpretations. Foreign policy, obviously our history with Russia, I understand that. But I'm not going to make the 100-year-old issue or even 30 years from the Cold War, the Soviet Union, an issue with Russia, the modern-day nation, when the world has changed so much. You've seen even the last year with AI, the world has changed so much. And then domestic issues, I think that would be a positive impact to Democrats and Republicans. I don't see how anyone would be mad at banning PACs. I don't see how anyone would be mad at getting rid of income tax for families or birth grants or down payment grants.
The only people who would be mad about any of those things is politicians themselves, who want to take this money and they want to get a bunch of campaign donations so that they could go out to super expensive lunches, and live like a Hollywood movie star while they're traveling the world, feeding you mouthfuls of bullcrap.
It's terrible.
That's actually a good list for a starting point for different solutions to a lot of our problems that we're facing. And I think that's great. I wanted to talk about a couple things I found with Epstein, but I could just talk about them. So we talked about the DEA probe into Epstein that was existing for a long. Oh, here's another big. Well, I'll save it for later. Epstein, one of Epstein's victims, said that she helped to gather 50 women to go, give Epstein massages, and that she was told to reject girls that looked like they were over 13 or 14. And there's a video of her saying this. There's an email about Ghislaine Maxwell having body doubles. That was pretty interesting. There's email to Jeffrey Epstein that was talking about killing someone. Somebody killed somebody, but the person who wrote the email is redacted. So literally, like, the Epstein files are only supposed to protect the victims.
That's a court order too.
A court order that it's only supposed to protect the victims. Well, this person's redacted, and they said, it's too hard.
Well, I wonder why they're redacted. Are they a person in power? Are they a person that we rely on for the GDP? We know that a recession, it could be negative 0.1 in GDP, and that considers a recession. So are we so worried over a recession that we don't want to bring justice to this family who had to deal with the death? It's terrible.
Yeah, it says Jeffrey Epstein received an email from someone whose name has been redacted by the DOJ boasting about taking someone's life. I thought I'd never be able to kill someone in my life. ... I was wrong.
Ugh.
We were told by the Trump administration that redactions would only be used to protect victims. So why are the names of people who committed these crimes still being hidden? That's a big deal. That is why Trump's not in the files as a pedophile. He is guilty of the Epstein situation because he's covering it up. He's not guilty of doing anything illegal as far as what's been revealed through the Epstein files, but because he wants to cover it up, that makes him guilty by association. You're covering up for him, then you're just as guilty as him. So we covered that, and then the FBI released this document that says that they were cherry picking documents to redact or just not put out in general that included the names of former U.S. presidents, Secretary of State, celebrities, and they were talking about all the different FBI codes and different tiers of people or whatever their assessments are. And a 1A assessment, they were looking for guidance. Hey, we came across this document that has 1A material. Please advise what to do about this. And the response was, do we have clear guidance for redacting? Please see below for additional details. Needs clear and specific guidance to redact these photographs. Some photographs depict victims, unknown, unidentified females and males, U.S. presidents, secretaries of state, and celebrities. So they were looking for guidance on how to deal with redacting or just all out not releasing a document relating to celebrities, prominent people in our society. And that came out. That's the FBI literally covering up for Epstein. So that I wanted to, show all this stuff on the screen and whatever. We're coming up on an hour and 13 minutes here. So, we'll probably end up wrapping it up. But I did want to touch on those things. And I put in the corner of the screen a while ago that Christ is King when Rich was doing his little wrap-up speech. And that's the baseline of everything, having to do with this show, having to do with our beliefs, having to do with our politics, is that Christ is King. These powers and principalities of the earth, they only have the power that you give them. It's an illusion of power to think that Nancy Pelosi is somehow smart enough, strong enough, credible enough in any way, shape, or form for you to think that Nancy Pelosi has any credibility to tell you what to do. She's literally one of the dumbest people on the planet, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And to think that holds any relevance to you is, ridiculous. Christ is King. God is the only the top. It goes God, family, country. You know what I mean? In my tier of what is important.
Yeah.
And that is where we're at. That is what this show's all about.
And I think that's a great way to end the episode. One thing that I do want to say before we end, as dumb as she is one of the best investors ever. She is 1,000x on her money. Isn't that impressive?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Trump brought that up. He said that he's going to make insider trading illegal. He said, "Is Nancy Pelosi here tonight?"
Oh, that's classic. We will be back as soon as possible with the real news, as Alex Jones says it, real world news, from our perspective, obviously. So, Will, do you have any final statements or final things?
Let's hope that they don't strike Iran
Yep.
over the weekend.
Yep, it'll be in my prayers. I hope it'll be in yours. Do not strike Iran, but most likely we'll see what happens. I'm Richard Donahue, and I'm here with my co-host, William Donahue, and we are out. Subscribe, like, and comment. Thanks. Goodbye.